Hello and welcome to the second part of the Breda Cashe chat. In this part, Breda talks specifically about producing the shows I Keno, Alone It Stands, and the show she's currently developing based on the own Colfer books, Artemis Fowl. It's very, very interesting about the whole mechanics, dynamics, and a great perspective on producing big shows. And then Breda goes on to talk about grief. And it's very moving, and she's very honest, and she has an extraordinary perspective. This is really must listen stuff. It's really reflective and interesting for anybody who's been through that experience. If you would like to get in touch with me, you can email me on anglevchats@gmail.com, or please leave a comment in the comment section of whatever platform you're watching on. Thank you.
So Pat Moylan, she ran
Andrews Lane.
She ran Andrews Lane.
Let me just give you a very quick story about this. Going back to my cousins.
Yeah.
Hugh O'Donnell was my cousin who bought the site where Andrews Lane was built. Yeah. And he was a stockbroker and very talented, but always had a passion for theatre and a passion about being an actor. So he bought Andrews Lane and renovated and built it and was a very close friend of Pat's and asked Pat to run it so that he could actually do plays. He put on, he founded Andrews Lane Theatre. He was my first cousin. And he's part of that group of people that I was talking to you about earlier that had this, like, I don't know, another one of my cousins had a little circus. Do you know what I mean? So there's kind of that madness that runs amongst us that that's what we did.
But I'm just, even the idea of people doing that, now everything seems so stratified, doesn't it? You professional this, professional that, and it seems more, but that's like really entering the world of professional theatre there in...
Yeah. And it kind of, and there was no training, or there was no,
Yeah, exactly, because there wasn't. You did it.
You just did it.
Well, it used to be like that in the olden days in England. You went into rep, and that's where you
learned
everything. Do it, and then everything suddenly becomes professionalised.
And I mean, I do remember, and I still even apply this to the day. Tony O'Donnell, when I was working with him in the Irish National Opera as the lowly stage hand, stage manager, him saying things like, "Shall we get it done? Because we have to get it done."
Yeah.
Because
you have that deadline, and the show has to go on.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it never kind of occurred to me that we wouldn't get it done. Never.
And when Pat said, produce this, you went, yeah, I can do that. Yeah. And you did it. Yeah. And it was...
It was a success. We put it on Andrews Lane. And then it was the beginning. And Pat said to me, we should do this. We should make this a little more formal. And funny enough, she said it just as I was thinking it. It was that kind of thing. And I remember saying to Cyril, I think I'm going to say to Pat that we should set up a company. And literally the next day I went into the theatre and she said, we should really set up a company. And then we were trying to come up with a name, and we were in Andrews Lane, so we just said Lane Productions. So it became Lane Productions. And the two of us put in something like $5,000 at the time. And we did an amazing amount of productions. We really did.
Really, you went to the West End.
We did. We went, we had shows that opened in Andrews Lane and could run at the time, for 10 weeks, 12 weeks, 14 weeks, 16 weeks. That doesn't happen anymore. We would put those shows on and then transfer them to the Gaiety. I remember we had this wonderful show called Alone It Stands, which we did for 10 years. We did Alone It Stands.
That went into the West End, and did it go to
Australia?
Broadway?
No, it didn't. It didn't go to Broadway. It went to Australia, New Zealand.
What is Alone It Stands?
So Alone It Stands is about the night on the 31st of October 1978 when Munster beat the All Blacks 12-0. And it's written by John Breen. It's an amazing piece of theatre because what he does is he's 6 actors, a very physical piece, playing the Munster team, the All Blacks, the supporters. It's just a joy to watch. We did it for 10 years. I remember trying to get out of doing it.
Were you involved in the soccer musical, the football,
No. Oh, yes, Aikino.
Yes, Aikino. And I think what it shows is there's a real theatre audience there. When you're doing something in a different genre, you probably, Alone It Stands, brought loads of people to the theatre who wouldn't have gone.
Well,
and the same with Aikino.
Yeah, and we know that for a fact because when we would have Alone It Stands in Andrews Lane, we collected the data of those people coming. And they were, generally speaking, first-time theatre goers.
Amazing, yeah.
We knew that they were mainly male because the pints of Guinness and pints of, beer in the bar was rising every time. The programme sales went up through the roof because at a match, everybody buys a programme. So at the theatre, they all thought they had to buy programmes. You know what I mean? It was just one of those things. So we were able to capture all that information. And then we created this kind of database of these people who we would invite to our previews for all other shows.
And did they start coming to the theatre?
And they started to come. And we had to send them out by post. My girls even talked about it recently, where we'd be sitting around the kitchen table, stuffing envelopes and sending them out, But we would send out 4,000 letters to people saying, the preview of this is on next week. Would you like, we'd like you to come to the previews. And we would pack the previews. And of course, then the word of mouth would have started. And then we would, So it was a really early stage marketing, we didn't have digital marketing at the time. We didn't even have really good box office systems that could even properly capture the information we were getting. But we did do it manually.
But I think I'm just fascinated by that niche that you're building up. That you do this brilliant show, and it's appealing to.
So much so that when people were moving apartments or houses or jobs, they would write to us and say, "Please don't take our names off the list. This is my new address."
Wow. And it was like your production company became associated with the type of theatre. You'd built your own audience.
Yeah. And then Arthur Matthews came to us with a one-page detail of. It wasn't called Aikino at the time, that whole Say Pam thing. And Pat and I don't know whether we got this kind of reputation as two women who like to produce sporting shows. But we ended up, Pat and I came from a GAA background, so I knew a bit about sport. And my dad was an absolute avid sport. So much so that we used to kind of, when he'd be asleep on the couch and the match of the day music would come on, we'd all have to try and get it off really quickly. So anyway, we had a look at that, and I said to Pat, that's a really good idea. That's a really good idea. But it wasn't written. So there were 3 people involved, Arthur Matthews, Paul Woodfull and Mick Nugent. And we asked Peter Sheridan to direct a workshop of it. There was one song written for it, and we had one guy who could sing at the workshop. By the end of the week of workshop, it had become a musical.
Oh, it wasn't a musical when Arthur came to you for it? Oh.
So by the end of the week...
But Paul Woodfull is...
Yeah, it had become a musical. Yeah. And then we got David Hayes involved, who's just, I think, the best musical director in the country. And David waved his magic on it, and it became... No, it was a show that wasn't without its problems. There was a lot of ego involved. I won't go into the details of the actors who were really difficult, but it wasn't easy. What actually happened on stage was what happened in Say Pam.
Yeah.
The truth.
I mean,
there was this dynamic that happened on stage, that there was disquiet amongst the cast because of certain egos.
Yeah. As a professional person, you have got a show up. You've put money behind it, and you've said, "I think there's something great here." From the audience reaction, yes, it's great, and then that's happening. How do you give that a place? Do you go into a panic, or do you go, "This is part of the job"? And
well, I tell you what we did. We had a disastrous dress rehearsal. So much so that Pat and I couldn't even sit together during that night because we were. And also, practically every ticket for the show had been sold. Yeah. Which was unheard of.
So you had a disastrous dress, and then...
That night it opened, right? And the audience went mad. Yeah. Now, I said to Pat, I don't know whether there's going to be a run on the box office after this, because it was so bad. Like, it was just... Now, we were dealing with a lot of issues on stage. I have to say that. It really was. It wasn't the happiest production that I've ever been involved in.
But what did it feel like for you guys when you saw the audience reaction? You must have been
astounded. We were astounded and thrilled, obviously. I mean, it was kind of like both of us looking, going, how? Like, when you're looking from one of the boxes in the Olympia at a full house right up to the gods, and you're looking at the stage and you're looking at the reaction of everybody, and all we could hear was chanting, Kino, Kino, you know, like...
But it's also comedy, which does come to life with an audience. And then that audience is bringing so much to the show.
And it was like they came with Irish flags. They came with, you know, Irish scarves. When Mario Rosenstock came on and said, hello, it was... it went absolutely, like, mad.
Because it was such an emotive...
Yeah, like everybody was waiting for somebody to break the silence. And Roy Keane came to see the show.
And?
I was sitting in a box, and Roy Keane was sitting in the box beside me, and a few of his friends. And it was the most nerve-wracking thing.
Did he like it?
He loved it. He absolutely loved it. And it was really, really special. I mean, I don't... Did you get to see it?
I didn't get to see it. I really like Roy Keane because he's so straight down the line and passionate about what he does and brilliant at what he does.
We had great people playing all the other parts. The guy who played McCarthy as Desi Gallagher was the image of McCarthy. And so it was the dynamic was fantastic. Anyway, here we had this huge success on our hands.
You know that you've got a hit, but you know that there's trouble on stage. What, as a producer, what were you feeling there? Because I've been in situations like that, and it can be very...
Kind of growing up very quickly in a flash. Like, we realised, how do we manage this ship? Because honestly, it got big as well. It got bigger than we never, ever envisaged it to be as big as it was. And so we were seeing a whole lot of new people come to the theatre. You know,
it's the same thing. Yes, yeah.
So we knew there would be a problem. Okay, so we got to the end of the first run, and the Olympia asked us to come back in May. And we knew that we would have issues with some of the actors. And I just said, no. And we recast.
Yeah.
That's how we dealt with it. We actually recast. And it was as good the next time as it was.
And was it a happier cast?
Much happier. Much, 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 much happier. So it was just, you know, it just happened organically that it sorted itself out.
Yeah.
But we weren't going to allow it to happen again.
It's scary when stuff like that happens. Because did you have a moment where you go, is this going to bring down the ship?
100%. We absolutely did. There's a lot riding on it then. There's the other people in the cast who are not a part of that.
Yeah.
There's the theatre. There's all of us, you know, the directors, there's so many people involved that we couldn't let it fall. And Annie, why would you let it successful?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And it was a big learning thing for me, insofar as you've got to be, and Pat and I have always had this ethos and theory about life, in general about projects. Never be afraid to walk away from them. If it's not working and it can't be fixed, walk away. Yeah. You can't be controlled as a producer then.
Yeah.
Because...
And when you are producing, you have to have that strength.
You do, yeah.
And because another way of dealing with it is being eternally conciliatory, and you end up with nothing.
It never works that way. And, you know, even we've been trying, you know, we tried to cast certain people in certain parts over the years. And we'd go to the point where we thought they would be signing the dotted line. And they would come in with another thing. We would just go, no, thanks very much. Walk away. Yeah. So people don't know that. They'd never know the details. They'd never know the long conversations that we had to have at night time, Pat and I. Where will we go next? Who will we go to? Do you know what to
And
think?
here's the whole thing. When you totally caught up in it, you're thinking, oh, it might bring the whole thing down. Your audience knows nothing of it.
That's what I'm saying to you. You always look to that opening night because... That's what's important. And I had a really fantastic moment about that particular thing was So Pat and I had lane production. Everything was beautiful. Everything was great. Pat was asked to go on the Arts Council as chair. So, obviously she wasn't going to be able to run Andrews Lane, or Andrews Lane was sold at that stage, Lane Productions, and do this. So we kind of, between us, and we know each other so well, there was no kind of bad feeling or anything like that. We just decided to do, I went continuing on producing. Pat went into the Arts Council.
Did you carry on with Lane Productions?
No, I did for a little while, but so I became Breda Cashe Productions. And my very first production was a lovely piece called Tuesdays with Maury.
Oh, yeah, I saw it now. I saw the production you did of that
Recently,
last year.
but I did way back. And I directed it and produced it myself because I couldn't afford to have a whole team. And it was such a joy to do with Terry Byrne, who's now deceased, and Andy Murray from the Viking Theatre. Andy is an actor as well. So we produced it together. I produced it and we put it on. And it just took, everybody who saw it, it just made a difference. I know it did. And it found its way from the Viking Theatre into the Gaiety Theatre.
Amazing.
That's
from a 60, 70 seat theatre
into a 1,000-seater.
A 1,000-seater, yeah.
And it did really, really, really good.
But that was brave of you to say, I'm going to produce it in this big space, because those big spaces
can swallow things, yeah.
Yeah, but it's also financially, it's a huge
but
thing.
In fairness to the Gaiety, I've always had a really good relationship with them. So, they took a chance on putting it in, but they went to saw it and saw I think and I just had one of those moments. I remember sitting in the box in the Gaiety, looking at the audience packed to capacity with this beautiful, simple two-hander that had cost hardly anything to produce on the Gaiety stage, and the reaction of the audience. And I remember thinking, oh my God, that's what it's about. That's what it was about for me.
Yeah. And with your director's hat on, what did you think? Did you have to do something to think about filling it?
Oh, yeah.
Filling that space.
Fill the space. Yeah.
So what did you do to fill the space? Because sometimes the most minimal thing can still fill a space.
Yeah. Well, we did it by lighting it very cleverly and by keeping it intimate and out the front. So that it wasn't kind of way back there. It didn't need the full big stage.
And they just did to up
and
the
there were only
bit.
They were only set pieces, so they weren't actually. It wasn't
and in terms of their performances, did they just?
Yeah, but they're two really, really good actors, and they did a beautiful job. I mean, really beautiful job. It was a very different production to the one we've just finished, which was also in the Gaiety. It was a very different production, but it had an essence and a core that really was truthful. And I think that thing of having truth on the stage is where that connection, that beautiful connection that happens between the audience and the actors. And I remember looking that night thinking, this is probably not the very best production in the whole world, but there's something happening. There's something really magical happening between. I could see it in the faces of the audience. That when I was looking at them, I could see there's something special happening. And, I think as a producer, the actors, I think, live a lot for that communication that they have with the audience and being able to be connected and then getting their bow, because that's the recognition of that. Producers look at, it's as simple as bums on seats, people coming back, people talking about, wow, that was worth seeing. It's those comments, they're the things that I want to hear. When we were making the decision to do a play, Pat and I came back together actually last year to do a play. We picked on Tuesdays with Maury because it was such a healing play for me to do way back, but it's also a healing play. Well, Pat had lost her husband. I had lost my Cyril. Pat had recovered from cancer. So it was a really healing play to do for us as a couple of people who are deeply involved in each other, each other's lives as friends, that we were able to kind of do this wonderful piece again. Yeah, it was very, very special. And then we toured all over the country with Tuesdays and Maury and Terry and Andy. We did it everywhere. And again, just getting the same response from the audience the whole time, which is fantastic. So yeah, I mean, producing.
And you're working on a big project at the moment.
I am. I'm working with Owen Colfer. We're doing a musical version of his books, Artemis Fowl.
Could you get any bigger? I mean,
I know. I remember when he rang me to say, and it was shortly after Cyril died. I really, kind of treasured that, just to say, what do you think of this idea? And I went, yes, we'll do it. Now it was kind of naive in a way because, to negotiate the rights.
So you're doing that on your own.
I'm doing it, I'm producing it on my own here, but I have now got UK partners.
Brilliant.
Which is fantastic. So I've had to, unfortunately, to do this, I've had to go to the UK because it's such a big project that the infrastructure for musical theatre at that scale is just not here yet. So I've had to set up an English company. I've had to, do all that. But it's a new kind of phase for me. It's a new.
I know you've workshopped a script already.
Yeah.
How do you bring it to the next level? And you'll do that in the UK?
Yeah. Originally, it was to happen in Ireland. We were supposed to do a kind of slightly under the radar type production of it in Ireland. I had negotiated, it took me 2 years to negotiate with Disney to get the rights. Not because they were difficult, they weren't. It's a slow process.
And I'm interested, were you intimidated having to negotiate with like a huge...
I mean, I negotiated the rights for the Shawshank Redemption with Stephen King's people. Yeah. So no, I don't get intimidated with that because I think you just have to go with what they're looking, they want something, they want you to put something on, you want to put something on. You know what I mean? It's like
but the bottom line and all the figures involved, you just have a sense of what it should be.
They work themselves out.
Do they? Yeah. Okay.
They work themselves out.
If I was doing something like that, I'd be worried about the figures. I'd be going, do I know this?
Yeah. No, the risks involved in producing theatre are huge. Yeah. But that's not what you think about then.
Okay.
Baby steps.
Yeah.
You have to get the rights first.
Yeah.
And then negotiation between, whoever you're negotiating with is about everybody being respectful of each other's sides. Do you know what I mean? So you're not kind of you're not trying to get something for nothing. I mean, I had wonderful negotiations. I did 3 world premieres of Maeve Binchy's plays.
Oh, yeah.
All negotiated with beautiful people, really easy. Not easy in the sense that, of course, there were things that we needed to iron out.
Yeah.
But that's the job. That's the job. Yeah. It's a negotiating thing, So where we're at the moment is we're working with a company called Frantic Assembly, which are a UK company, kind of a movement company. They did a brilliant production of Curious Incident of the Dog in the Night that was on the Breda Cashe, actually. It was
Did I see? I saw that. Yeah.
Really stunning. So they're kind of physical theatre people, which is exactly what Artemis Fowl needs. Yeah. And Scott Graham, who's going to direct it, it's just that we did a workshop in December, which is just beautiful. And now we're doing another workshop on the 14th of March in London because we're looking at, where we're going to do the initial production, and we're looking at 2 theatres are interested in becoming involved. And so it's baby steps forward. But it's going to be 2026, 2027 before.
Will you develop it in the provinces? Will you tour it in the provinces in England first? Or are you going straight?
We will do it in 2 theatres in the UK before we
go to
the West End.
So
that's the plan. That's the plan. But then equally, I'm doing a small play called Cosima, written by Sheena Lambert, which was on
with Mary Murray.
And one of my favourite actors.
Yeah, me too. I absolutely love Mary.
I saw it in Smock Alley. It's a 1-woman show. It was beautifully done. Mary is amazing.
And the whole image, you were saying that I can sell a show on an image. I remember you saying that, but the image of that, it was just the titled image, and it was Mary Murray. Yeah. I thought, I really want to see that. I didn't make it up.
And the thing is, it shouldn't be something that people want to go to see because it's about Wagner's music. It's about his wife. She wasn't a particularly nice person. So I saw it in Smock Alley. And my thing about, my big thing about theatre in Ireland is that there's not enough time for really good theatre to be incubated, to be loved, to be developed, to be workshopped, to make it the best it can possibly be. Because we're constantly trying to get things on because of the cost of things. So one of the reasons why I really wanted to do this was because I saw a beautiful little round piece of theatre that should be seen by other people. Yeah. I wasn't involved in the initial production of it. So I wasn't involved in the creative aspect of it. I didn't cast it. I didn't, but I did see something in it. And we put it on in the Viking, which is, of course, one of my favourite places in the country. And it took off. It did really well. And we're now looking at, developing it into a bigger show. It's going to have a lovely soundscape over it. And Mary is still going to be involved in it. So it's just a really lovely, kind of... So it's kind of like Artemis Fowl, which is, big, huge thing, and Cosima, which is a small thing.
Who is the, like we were talking about, you did the sports shows and you just suddenly discovered this amazing audience, and we know who the audience would be for Artemis Fowl. There's all the fans of the book.
Yeah.
For Cosima,
I just think people, if we can tell them that it's a good story.
Yeah.
Actually, I have a thing about this. If word of mouth is what sells.
Yeah.
It's the best. It's the best. So if you can get people in. When I was producing it in the Viking, we had to sell 60 seats a night or whatever. We got people in at the very beginning. They sold it because it was such a lovely show. It's the same principle in a big theatre. You get as many people in as you can that will go out and talk about it. Now you have to do the radio and the television and all the rest. But it's that kind of thing that generates whatever the response in the audience is. Oh, I was at a brilliant show last night, you have to go to see it, whatever that is. Like I think I've spoken to you about this before, but when I saw The Girl from the North Country,
yes, yeah,
I saw it in London with Cyril, actually, it was just before he died. We were blown away by that production. I don't think I've ever been as moved by a production sitting in the audience. I remember being in the second act, halfway through the second act, crying, looking at Cyril, who was crying, and neither of us knew
why,
how and when we'd started to cry. Do you know? So that was kind of like this amazing response to something. I saw that show 5 times, I'd say. And before I did Circle of Friends in Dublin, I brought my creative team to see the show in London, to see Girl from North Country. Not because it had anything to do with the show we were doing. I just wanted them to feel what I wanted the audience to feel when they left Circle of Friends. Yeah. And they got it. It's that kind of, is it hard to define though what it is?
Yeah, it is hard. And do you think audiences have shifted? It's so interesting what you were saying, that you could run a play for 10, 12, 16 weeks in Andrews Lane and that doesn't happen so much anymore. No. Like I was looking back at what the Newlands did, and we used to do really long. We did 9 weeks in the Tivoli Theatre. We did 5 weeks in the Academy.
I remember in Pearse Street.
In Abbey Street.
Abbey Street.
It opened at the same time as Vicar Street, and it was like they were going to be the 2 big new music venues, and then
Spirit?
Vicar Street. It's called Spirit now. Yeah. Can you imagine 5 weeks?
I know. And when we were touring Alone It Stands, we could go into a venue and spend a week. Like you'd go to the Cork Opera, you'd go to, the Bell Table, you'd go to the Watergate, you'd go to the Hawkswell.
And now it's one
week,
night.
And now you're lucky if you can get 1 or 2 nights.
What is that?
I think we need to look at audiences, and I think we need to give them better theatre times, and let them know that it's the magic that it is. Like I don't think we spend enough time talking about live theatre.
Yeah.
And telling people and giving people the option of enjoying it. Venues have to be what they have to be because they have to open the doors. But it's hard to arrive in a town with a play and just be there for 1 or 2 nights because you don't have that word of mouth that you used to be able to have, which was so now you're now relying on social media to sell your show, but social media is also selling, Easter bunnies. Do you know what I mean? And it's, or whatever else they're selling.
I know it goes through those shifts. I know when I was at drama college and the like our tutors would say, the way it used to be in England was you'd have the rep companies, they'd have their few shows and they go from theatre to theatre. And at that time, in the early 90s, it was beginning to do the shift where you had to have the telly name in the show to get people in.
Yes.
And that gradually all those theatres had turned into one-night stand venues. And so you'd have maybe a play come in, but it was smaller productions, and then you have your clairvoyant, your comic, your
tribute band,
your endless tribute, and then I just did a tour in the UK with Dr. Louise Newson with a company who does a lot of that kind of. They will tour authors with their books, and there's a whole strata of that.
Yeah,
I mean that's more. Well, that's what's, shows that are commercially viable, because...
Well, you see, I'm on the board of the Everyman Theatre in Cork, which is an amazing theatre.
Yeah,
it's got 600
it's perfect size.
650 seats.
Yeah.
It's a sister to the Olympia, same designer.
Yeah.
And Des Kennedy, who's just become the new artistic director there, like his ambition for there is to go back to that, be able to kind of allow plays to breathe and to kind of and music, and we're hoping to do a lot of musicals there. It's just having the courage to do it and to try and get people. Now I know it's a difficult time, it's a different time, and after COVID it's different. We came back to the Gaiety Theatre with huge restrictions in terms of who could come. So we could have 50 people in the Gaiety. 50.
50.
50. I thought initially it would be 50 downstairs and 50 upstairs, but it was 50 in total. So, and it is look, I adore this piece of theatre. It's probably one of the pieces of theatre that I'm most proud of in my career, because Ellen Cranage's music, Joe Mangan's direction, Tom Swift's writing, and the ensemble of a string quartet and 4 singers. I mean, just beautiful. And 50 people in the audience. And when the first theatre announcements went out, the fire exits and the, turn off your mobile phones, those 50 people gave that announcement a standing ovation.
Quite moving, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's the idea.
It moves me even now.
It moves me to hear you tell that story. Yeah.
To me, that's what I want people to feel when they go to the theatre.
Yeah.
That's it. And I mean, it's that simple gratification, that simple acknowledgement of having not had it.
Yeah.
There they were. And it's still a moving thing for me to say.
But I think it's most essential than ever, because people are keeping contact through electronics so much now, and there is a slight isolation going on with the way everything is connected. So connected, but connected through devices.
I know.
And we're human beings.
We're human beings.
And we actually read so much about communication through feeling the energy of another human being.
Exactly.
And we're mammals.
Yeah.
And we need that mammalian thing.
Yeah.
And theatre is part of that.
Yeah, and it is. And that's why I fight for it, because of that one moment, actually. Wow. Do you know what I mean? Because it kind of meant, oh my God, it meant such a lot to us all involved in doing the show for them to do that. I remember we were all crying. Yeah. I don't know how the audience, how the actors did it that time.
Yeah.
Because it was a very moving moment, it really was. So, to put, to kind of experience that, is it's magical, really.
And it's amazing your passion sounds as keen as ever for what you're doing.
Yeah, I mean, it is, yeah.
Because I met up with you during lockdown because I was developing a show, and I was going, how am I going to do this? I needed to reach out and go, am I doing the right thing? Is this doable? And you were so supportive, but you told me the story of your bereavement.
I know. We had, it's 5 years ago, actually. Of
course, Christmas.
Yeah, Christmas Day. Cyril, he had a passion for the arts. He had a passion for, he was a potter. I've loads of pieces of pottery around the house that he made. He appreciated, music, and absolutely, was a real, loved. He got me into country and western. I have to say to you, there's nobody would have believed that could have ever happened, John Prine and Willie Nelson, and just a delightful man in so many ways. Like, he really was kind-hearted. He was so even-tempered.
Yeah.
You know, and the fieriness of me sometimes wanted to have, you know, a bargee, but there was, you know, what, there was kind of like, what, why? You know, he was deeply loved and deeply respected. You know, he was.
What age were you when you met?
We were 20, let me see now, 27 when we met each other. And were married by the time we were 29. And, you know, had a very lovely life, you know. I mean, he was a really brilliant provider and father and husband, you know, kind of. And I'm sure I was not the easiest person to live with at times, you know, because of the business that I was in, but also of the type of person I am. I need to be free in my head a lot of the time, you know. So he was just kind of constant rock, you know. I remember I said this at his, actually, it is hugely now that I think about it. We had gone to, you know, somebody had kind of discussed what we were in past lives. And of course I was, you know, a ballerina or something, you know.
Yeah.
And Cyril was a rock. You know? I remember thinking, that's the funniest thing I've ever heard. But actually it was just so right, you know, for him. He was just a solid man who was so good as a dad, you know, really stunning.
When things settled, at what point do you start thinking, how do I move forward without the person who has been my rock and part of my identity all my adult life?
Yeah. Well, there is a certain time that you feel half of you is missing. I know that people talk about that, but in actual fact, I felt it. I felt there wasn't this part of me, this side of me. You know, we were obviously in shock and we were on trauma, and immediately I recognised that, and I'm really good at this, you know, I recognised that we needed to have help.
Because something like that happening could absolutely destroy someone.
Yeah. So I had 2 girls to manage. I had to show them that we had to get on. We had to survive. And I just had to show them that by being that person. Do you know what I mean? I just had to. So I couldn't allow myself to fall in any way.
But now, 5 years later, how do you hold the grief? Is it?
Well, I've learned that I just wrote something about this the other day, actually, because I feel grief is a wall, actually. It feels like a wall that you just can't get over. Sometimes you want to break through it. Sometimes you want to see what's on the other side. But I feel more comfortable on this side of the wall with my grief than I'd feel on the other side without it. Yeah. That's the truth. And I don't want to be without my grief. I like my grief. It's a place that I can go to and really, you know, I kind of know myself through my grief now, I suppose. I kind of feel I had to find things in myself. You know, I had to be able to survive it, you know. It's a bit like I just get on with things, you know, and it's a bit like the alternatives are what are the alternatives?
What are
Did you become
the
the worry of your family? Did you worry them?
Yeah.
You know, that you take from their lives because you can't deal with your own. Do you know what I mean?
But I do find it so extraordinary that you're involved in these, one huge project, one smaller project. You're putting this creative work out in the world. It's so demanding, and it requires that insanity of creativity that, you know, you take such belief and such energy, and you're still doing it. Does the grief take dull the joy a bit?
No, it doesn't dull it, but, you know, it's like somebody said, and like everybody says, grief is different for everybody, but like the most common thing that you hear people say about grief is that you could be doing something really normal and it's like somebody slaps you in the face. Yeah. Like really, really hard. And then just for a little while you react to that, you cry or you get angry or you, whatever it is. That's what, you know, and then you go back But it's somewhere there, you know, it's somewhere in your head, somewhere that, you know, or your heart, or somewhere in your body that you hold it. And my biggest fear actually is forgetting. You know, my biggest fear is, like everybody's saying it, that the stages of grief. And the biggest one, the biggest hurdle is definitely the one of acceptance. Because you feel as if when you say you've accepted what's happened, that you somehow are moving on. You know, you've accepted it, so now you move on to this part of your life.
Yes.
But in actual fact, so there's a real fear around acceptance for me, because I don't want to move on. I don't want to not have him, you know, around. Do you know what I mean? And I spoke about the essence of Cyril when I was giving the eulogy.
Yeah.
The essence of anybody who exists, is made up of so many things, you know, and some of it is, and I, you know, I was trying to kind of come up with the reason why I have come to this for me, and it's like, all I have to do if I want Cyril to be around is close my eyes and ask the question, what would Cyril do about this? Because I know what he would do about it, because his essence is still here.
Yeah.
You know, his heart and the way he did things and the way he wanted to live is very much a part of what we do still. Do you know what I mean? So we don't, it's just, I'm not physically there, but I can feel, I know exactly what he would think about something, you know.
Your resourcefulness is extraordinary, that you know that's what you needed to do. You needed to do the trauma counselling. You needed to build a place for yourself and do everything so beautifully.
Yeah, well, it's just all about passing it on. And to be honest, you know what I mean? It's about kind of like, I'm not saying this is the right way or this is the right, should it be done. It's the way I can do it. And I find strength in my ability to protect my daughters, you know, and not even protect them. They're exposed, but being able to say, it's okay. It's actually okay. We have as our parents used to call them, the cross to bear. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I don't think anybody gets through life actually without having something.
That was a wonderful thing that we had with when Ireland was more of a religious country, and you would always say those things, your cross to bear.
Yeah.
The idea that life, well, it used to be part of the liturgy of the Mass, wasn't it?
Still there.
It's the valley of suffering. And you go to Mass, it was eternal, in this valley of tears, and we offer up and forgive me and guilt. But there was a sense, life isn't for happiness, crack, you know, gold.
But in a way, that's what I'm trying to prove to the girls and to everybody around me, that it is about laughing.
It is about that, but it is also, nobody gets out alive.
No.
And
nobody gets out alive. Nobody gets out. I think there's always something that happens, you know, and I'm not being kind of, it's not a pessimistic view. It's because I'm actually a really optimist.
Well, this is, you know, even when you told me that story, when I went to meet you and I was going, Breda, help, to talk to me, just tell me I'm doing the right thing. And then I just felt so guilty that I was reaching out to you and I was sobbing and you were going, and you were so strong.
Yeah.
But it's like the worst thing. Because
it is the worst thing.
After, you know, you had such a wonderful relationship and you've built such a life together that but life doesn't owe you anything, but...
No, I mean, it doesn't, but, you know, I think I have a very good friend, Annie Reid, who's an actor, and she's an English actor, and she's just got the most incredible energy. Like, she's an energetic, amazing 80 plus woman, you know.
Yeah.
And her joy is working. So she's doing a play in May, you know. She's in it, like she's of a very advanced age, but it's not, doesn't have anything. And I remember sitting, I'm not name dropping here now, but Pat and I produced Haunted, one of Edna O'Brien's plays years ago. Yeah. And Edna is frightening, do you know what I mean? Like, she really is. And was frightening, God rest her. But I was sitting at the table with Pat.
Yeah.
And Edna was sitting on one end of the table, 80 plus, and her agent was sitting at the other end of the table, 80 plus. Both of them looking coiffured and beautiful and stunning. Both of them wiping the floor with Pat and I. Do you know?
Why did you say she was terrifying?
Because she was, you know, like she had an aura around her.
I met her, and she was on the Jerry Ryan Tonight Show when I was on it, and she had to have a darkened room for an hour or two before. Nobody else requested that. Edna had to have her darkened room. For 2 hours or so before
I love that about people. I
do
love
too.
it. I mean, yes, of course. Why wouldn't
Boundaries.
you? You know, why? Yeah, why wouldn't you have somebody who has those things that they want? Do you know? She had a presence of, of knowing who she was herself. So she was very interesting to be around. Now I don't think could have been around her for a lot.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But I enjoyed that. I just enjoyed the dynamic of her and her agent completely in control of the situation.
She would have had, I wonder, did she always have that self-possession, or was it something that she had to learn through bitter experience?
Maybe. I think she probably had it innately. It might have been brought out more at times. Yeah.
She really had to fight for her independence and recognition on her own.
But she's also not afraid to be, she knew how to get things.
Yeah.
She knew how to ask for things. But I don't know, I didn't know her very well. I mentioned her just because, Annie Reid would have been the same stoic type of woman.
Well,
and Annie Reid, just to say, took up cabaret singing in her 70s and is a wonderful cabaret artist, and it's something she always wanted to do for all her life. She wanted to just stand in front of a piano and sing. Wow. And dog up, come on. And but she wasn't afraid to do it in her 70s, when everybody would say, oh, well, do you not think you should be hanging up the boots, I love that about people. I love that about, people who know what they want. It's hard to retire from this business.
You can't.
Because you're always drawn to it.
Yeah.
There's always that kind of thing of being drawn to it. I don't see myself retiring, actually. I kind of see myself just kind of... Actually, what I'm doing at the moment is, about a year ago, this sounds very big-headed now, I'm going to say something, but about a year ago, I started to look for another Breda Cashe, a young Breda Cashe, because I needed somebody to come on board to do the work that I want to do. And I also want somebody to learn the business really well, and I'm in a good position to be teaching somebody that now. I do believe now that this phase of my life going forward is about sharing it all, sharing. Yeah. It took a long time for me to be able to open doors, theatre companies, theatre venues, be able to open the door for somebody to take my call. It took a long time to build that up.
Yeah.
So I want to be able to kind of pass that on to somebody now, so that the work can continue. Because I'm passionate about new Irish work that isn't getting its chance, really, now. It's not. No matter what people are saying, and there's a lot of lip service given to, we try and do new Irish plays. It's about giving somebody who is talented and has got the ability to write for the theatre. And I'm talking about the theatre now, right? More than writing novels and things like that, or TV. Giving them the chance to develop their talent, not just by writing a play, but by writing many plays, and being able to kind of hone them and incubate them, and be able to kind of make sure that when they go in front of an audience, that they're ready to go in front of an audience. That they'll get good reviews, that they've done everything they possibly can with that play to make it the right play. And I don't think that's happening. I think the canon of Irish work is going to go down the drain if we don't do something about that.
And are you involved in seeing that doesn't happen?
I'm involved in as much as I possibly can in, taking shows like Cosima to do something with them, but also talking about this to other producers, to venues, to whoever will listen.
And you have the contact, the producing the Lear. The Lear's doing.
So it's about that. Yeah. It's about kind of trying to kind of develop and keep Irish theatre at the forefront, because it's brilliant.
Yeah.
It can be brilliant, but I've seen so many bad productions, and too early. They've gone on
Too early, yeah.
They're too long. You know, the 3.5 hours. God's sake,
And
nobody has that intense and
lack of rigor about what is where.
You know, and so, you know, it would be great to be able to recognise a few really good Irish artists, Irish writers, and put them in an academy, and give them the chance over a period of 5 or 6 years to develop their talent, and really, you know, and not with the kind of threat of, if it's not right, it's not going on. If it's not right, then the next one will be better. So that's kind of like what I'd like to put some energy into.
Breda, thank you for this conversation. I've learned so much, and I know women, girls, everybody, but particularly I want young girls, young women to listen to this conversation. I think they can learn so much about the path you took, about following your instinct, and about just the energy you put into everything you did.
Thanks.
Thank you so much. Thank you for sharing that story.
Thank you.
It's extraordinary. If you'd like to get in touch, you can email me on angildechats@gmail.com, or you can leave comments or feedback in the comment section of whatever platform you're watching on. And Chats is a Farren Gildea production produced by Paul Farren and Anne Gildea.